Good evening, everyone. Treasure Troller here from the militant state of Michigan, where our governor and dictator, Gretchen Whitmer, enacted a law specifically targeting Treasure Troller so he can no longer vlog and drive at the same time. But I think if I get one of those really fancy mounts on my desk, to put on my dashboard, if it's hands-free, I think I can. I'm gonna work around the law. I'm going to work in that gray area, an area that I should be in. So not a lot today, just a couple of small things that have been on my mind. One was brought up tonight. I get a chance to talk to Lamont for a while tonight. It was cool. And there was one subject in there. I'm not even going to talk about anything we talk about except one thing, which is something about his Squirmy and Grubs vlogs that he never brings up that I think he should. I keep thinking, this isn't like something that I should bring up, but if Lamont brought it up in one of his live chats, the women would go crazy. Oh, you're so right, Lamont, you're so right. So, if 2 or 3 of you watch Lamont's, try to convince him to bring this up in the live stream. We're both in agreement that this Squirmy and Grubs relationship thing is bullshit. Bullshit. Sorry about that. And when we're talking about the magic happening in the bedroom, the part that I just completely find unbelievable and whatnot, and why this isn't really they have a sex life, is because there are certain times, and I'm not going to put the number on it, but there are certain times that the lady sort of just is feeling a little bit more in the mood, more hypersexualized, and just wants it hard and fast. And that ain't happening with Grubs, I guess, or Squirmy, or whichever one is the guy. Hard and fast is just not something that's possible. And so that's why I just don't think this is a good relationship. Now, I did say something. I'm going to let Lamont say the other part. I'm not going to bring that up. I'll let Lamont bring it up. Maybe he'll come up with a nice little story, and I'll let him put that part in. The other thing is, I was listening to Coach JB, and his show really, to me, has gone off. It's becoming unwatchable. I hate to say it. He started out initially, maybe it was just about a year ago or so, he was putting his show on, and then he brought this female co-host on. She was a big Tennessee fan. She was kind of I think she had a fans only site, and she was like a men's magazine type model. Not going to say Penthouse or Playboy, but like, I can't, just sort of a guy, but she's, she was okay looking, but he brought her on, and then the show kind of went to shit because she didn't really know sports. She was a fan, and he really couldn't talk, RPO offense with her, or really couldn't talk about anything football related other than, I like the vowels in this game. So that ended. He was back on his own. The show was going really well. He was bringing in some guest speakers that helped the show. And about 2 Novembers ago, was it? Maybe it was last November. He started bringing on, now I can't think of his name. He was a quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. back in the 70s or 80s. God, why can't I think of it? I always hated him because he always beat the Lions. Sean something. But anyways, that seems to have gone by the wayside, and I don't know why. And now he brings in Smitty. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I just think his show is so much better when he's alone and not this not this partnering up stuff. He's the black version of Ed McMahon, except he talks a lot more than Ed McMahon. Oh, JB! He brings in the authenticity to the show. Not good. But anyways, they were talking tonight about Michael Oher and the writer's strike and royalties being paid and stuff like that. So I'm just going to put my opinion out there because I think I'm right. And it comes in, Lamont and I talked a little bit about this. Not specifically, but see, when, like the movie deal, everyone talks about the $300 million. Oh, Blindside made $300 million. And Michael Oher didn't get his bag. Everyone got their bag but Michael. So everybody got rich but Michael, the star of the show. Well, first, it was based on a book, not written by Michael, not written by the Tuohys, written by some other dude who also wrote The Big Short. And that's out in the movie. If you haven't watched The Big Short, you really need to watch it. And if you've watched it and you have kids that are becoming 19, 20 years old, you need to make them watch The Big Short to understand what happens when all of a sudden money is easy to get and money almost seems free. When offers are too good to be true. You need to make your kids watch The Big Short. But anyways, they sold the rights. They sold the rights. A guy came along and said, hey, this book is interesting. It's got a pretty good story in it. And I would like to make a movie about this. And the guy says, fine. They probably went to Tuohy and the Tuohys and said, hey, look, we're going to base a book, a movie on this book. Now, we'd like you to come along. We'd like to use your names. They didn't have to. They could have made it up about some other family from, some kid in Mexico that was brought across the border but happened to have the ability to throw a 120-mile-an-hour fastball. They could have made it up. But they signed the Tuohys on. They gave them a little piece for using their name, image, and likeness, along with Michael Oher. And the guy went up to a producer, a movie company, and said, hey, look, there's this book. I want to do this movie on this. The people would like to be part of it as far as use our characters and stuff, but I need money. Maybe he goes to Paramount, but I need money to do this film. And they said, okay, fine. We'll give you the money to produce the movie. And then when they get it done and they give it to Paramount, it's Paramount's movie. It's Paramount's product. It's Paramount's content. They could put that thing on a shelf and never put it out if they didn't want to. It's not Michael Oher's product. It's not the Tuohys. It's not even the book author anymore. They got their bag. And the only thing they can have coming back off it is royalties if they decide to put the movie out and the movie makes money. And then making money doesn't necessarily mean they get royalties. Watch the Jared Leto movie, documentary or whatever it is on the record company. It's the same damn thing. You take all the expenses out of it. You take all the expenses out of it. And then comes some of the profits for whatever, directors, producers, and all that. And then there probably comes a little bit of spot for the investors where they get their dividend. That's how it works. Just because the stock goes up a whole lot doesn't necessarily mean the shareholders, get the dividends, whatever. Especially like in electric companies, you get a dividend. You get a small portion on your investment. You're not going to make tons of money like you would if you would have, like I should have bought Bitcoin. Oh my God. Every day I get sick about that when I think about that. But it's Paramount's product. They talked about, well, Adam Sandler would probably like to get royalties on all the movies that are out on Netflix. Well, the reason why you don't get the movies on Netflix is because, and he might, I know, because he has that Happy Gilmore Productions. But anyways, the movie company owns the goddamn movie. It's their content. It's their content. It's just like in the records. When you want to put an album out, they'll send to the record company, signs you to a deal. They put you in the studio. They press it. They send it out. It's their album. It's their album now. If they want to sell it to, if they want to re-release the song to a punk rock band, they can do it. That's what all this Taylor Swift thing is about, her re-recording her albums. It's the record label's album. It's their content. They can do with it what the hell they want. I don't know why that's why these writers, it's going to go nowhere. It's going to go nowhere with these wanting to get money from Netflix. It's not Netflix's problem. There's a movie that's ran its course. They said, hey, we'll give you, who knows, X number of dollars to put Blindside on Netflix. And the movie company says, fine. And they pay them the check and they give it to Netflix to run they lease it to Netflix for 3 months or 2 months or whatever. And you don't get royalties on it because it's not your movie. It's not your content. It's no longer your content. I don't know why this is so hard to understand. Is it a ripoff? I don't know, maybe. But if it wasn't for the movie company, The Blind Side never would have put it out. Michael Oher just would have been some guy that unfortunately was, was fortunate enough to be taken in by a very rich family. And he still would have gotten his college degree. He still would have went to college. And he still would have made $40 million in the NFL. So I don't know. Would the Rolling Stones have more money than they have right now? Probably. Probably. The Eagles? Probably. Peter Frampton's best-selling live album of all time? He probably would have made more money. He probably still would have lost all of his money like he did and end up playing for David Bowie and all that kind of shit. He just would have had more money to lose. Aerosmith would have had more money for cocaine. But when they signed the record deal, it's no longer their content. That's just the way it is. And as far as Michael Oher, I never really got into this. But, well, what the hell? We might as well say it, and now only be 5 minutes late for work. When I was married, my wife and I were foster parents. And we had several kids come in the house that we took care of for a while, that we supervised, that we didn't have any type of guardianship over. I mean, if a kid needed a haircut, if I thought a kid needed a haircut, I couldn't take him down there to get a haircut. We had to get permission to get his haircut. So the conservatorship allowed them to get his haircut, buy him stuff, and all that kind of thing. But what I'm going to say is Michael Oher came to them damaged. Maybe not physically, but psychologically. For 15 or 16 years of his life, he never knew his father, and he had a mother that didn't give a shit about him. So he had a lot of trust issues. And those things don't go away because you start living with a rich family, or they go away with someone that, because you get into a family that basically cares about you and wants to see what's best for you. Michael Oher was in houses like that, and he ran back to his mother. People that he probably had a lot of this attachment reactive disorder where if he thinks people are getting too close, away he goes. So he doesn't have a lot of trust in adults. And I just think a lot of this comes from that, where he has some issues from the past, these trust issues, and that they've somehow manifested in this. Well, the people I thought were looking out for me, you know, because they had me sign a conservatorship, which basically allowed me to act like an adult, but they couldn't sign or take care of me legally. They couldn't, you know, you just can't just frickin' sign adoption papers. They'd probably have to go through social services, and it would have affected his ability to probably go to Ole Miss, if that's really what it was. He's living with Ole Miss graduates or Ole Miss boosters. It probably would have affected that. He might not ever gone to Ole Miss. What a difference does it make? I don't know. But it would have been a long time down the road, because they would have had to find other relatives of Michael Orr's to see if he could go live with them. And if the mother wanted Michael Orr to come back and live there, they might have offered her some sort of counseling and shit. This isn't just an either-or situation. It's all bullshit if you think that the choice is either adoption or conservatorship, and because conservatorship paperwork only took a day, well, let's go that route. That's bullshit. This just wasn't the same thing. They wanted to make this so that if the kid wanted to go Ole Miss, he could go to Ole Miss, and the NCAA wouldn't be able to bitch too much about it. But that's really what it's about. The adoption would have taken a lot longer than necessary than a conservatorship. But I really think it comes down to Michael Orr having a lot of trust issues in his life. It's not his fault. I'm not blaming him. You know, he was brought up for 15, 16 years of his life where he really probably couldn't trust people. So when things come up that he's not quite certain of, he thinks that, well, he's going to react to them. And I think that's what a lot of this has to do with. It's not about people taking your money, Michael, because I don't see the money being there. I see royalty checks when the money's been divvied out 18 times, then divided by 6, and divided one more time by 2, and then multiplied by 0.008. That's a royalty check that's divided amongst 5 or 6 people. I don't think it's there. And I think this has a lot to do with his upbringing and the trust issues that he's had in his life. So that's it. That was it. This is done. This is over. But nice talking with you, Lamont. So that's this treasure troller saying aloha and good night.